Hello, hello everyone. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back today with another video. And what I want to talk about in today's video is some of the frustration that can come up for us after we set an intention and we feel that our goals for ourselves are not manifesting in external reality as quickly as we want them to. And what I want to say in this video is that that's normal. And I really want you to stick with the choices that you're making, because the pitfall, of course, is expecting that making some healthy choices for a week, 2 weeks, a month is immediately going to get you into a place where you're immediately feeling better. And in many ways, you might actually feel better, but sometimes your feeling better can create frustration because as you're leveling up, you're not seeing your external reality level up with you at the same rate, and that is normal because there is lag time involved in manifesting your intentions, in creating change externally based on what you're doing for yourself internally, and because the habits that you're creating and stepping into don't have enough time to fully anchor into your body to change your kind of baseline emotional default. So I'll unpack that a little more as we get into it. I've seen that coming up in the collective lately. It came up for me myself in January, so I want to share my experience with you so you know that it happens. It happens and it's normal. And better things are on the way if you stick with it. I'm going to let you know how I hacked through it. And we'll talk just a little bit about the energetic mechanics of how this shows up and why it's normal for you to feel this way if this is the path that you're on. Of course, before I dive into that, as always, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel or like my page if you have not done so already. And if you're not familiar with me and my work, my name is Arden Lee, and I am the creator of the Repatterning Project. And that is an 8-week course where we hack our beliefs, we examine all our patterns that have been imprinted through us throughout our lifetimes, based on early trauma, childhood, the way we were raised, our social conditioning, our formative relationships, and even just programming that we get from being in this world that is not designed by those who are in power for us to be in our happiness and our fulfillment. So we learn how to start taking back our power, so we have our own creative freedom, we have our own place of sovereignty that we can start making our conscious choices from, so that we can start to create those lives that we're living on purpose, where we're really in touch with what makes us happy, the things that we want for ourselves, so we can make the most of our time here on Earth. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, go ahead and check out the description box. I have a PDF link, a link to a PDF about the Repatterning Project, so you can learn about what it is that we do and how we do it. And I also have a link to a free Facebook group that I moderate. I would love for you to come and join us. It is called the Repatterning Parlor, and it is for people who are interested in getting more information and or coming together and supporting each other on this journey forward. So we would love to see you. We would love to welcome you. All right, so what happens when we set an intention for ourselves, and let's say we do like a month to 6 weeks worth of of work, maybe even longer. You know, we start saying, okay, I'm going to do just something different now. I'm going to, I'm going to start, instead of going out drinking with my friends and ending up, super drunk, hungover, crying, upset about my whole life or whatever, like I'm going to do something that maybe feels like it's going to be a little healthier. I'm going to go, I'm going to go to a men's circle or a women's circle, and I'm going to connect with people in an authentic manner. I'm going to start surrounding myself with people who are also looking to their own personal development, because I want that support for me, right? And then maybe we keep in mind, you guys, we so often feel entitled to quick results because it's a difficult change to make at first. and we want to see that instant payoff, right? It's kind of like if we're changing our diet, our eating lifestyle. I don't mean diet by like, oh, you should go on a diet. I mean diet by like the things that we're eating, the things that we're taking in, right? Maybe we decide like, hey, I want to be healthier. I want to make a change to my lifestyle. So for 2 weeks, we're all like steamed veggies and brown rice and, lots of fruit and, natural foods, nothing processed, nothing with a label on it. This is amazing. And then maybe 2-3 weeks go by and we're like, wow, well, I haven't seen anything happen in my physical appearance. I'm not sensing any changes. This sucks. Why did I give up my Cheetos and M&Ms? What am I doing this for if I'm not going to see results right away? But of course, as we know, and as I know that you would know, if you were engaging in something as concrete as a change in your nutritional habits, you would understand that, okay, it's going to take a while for this to catch up. Maybe in, the first couple weeks, I might have a little more energy or whatever, but for me to really get to that place where my skin is glowing, my body feels healthy, I'm around like the weight that I want to be, or, my fitness levels feel like they're really healthy. That takes time. That's not something that happens overnight. And the pitfall is that we get so far and then we say, well, this just clearly isn't working. So we go back to our old habits. And this is something that happened for me also time and time again, every once in a while when I was living in New York. And for those of you who follow my story, you might know that when I was living in New York, I was subjected to a lot of trauma. I was in several abusive relationships. I was in some dangerous and abusive environments. And I was depressed. And I didn't realize that this trauma was happening because I didn't really understand trauma. I didn't really understand the way that it could affect the body and affect the body's response to other things. And I didn't understand the way that it could affect my worldview about what it meant to exist in the world and feel relatively safe, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought that I just had anxiety and depression, and that's what everybody else thought too, because nobody looked into my circumstances much more closely. It took me moving on to Los Angeles and setting an intention to heal finally, to hack it and figure it all out and be like, oh, this is why I feel bad. When I was in New York, there would be some times where I would really be at the sort of bottom of a depressive episode, and it would be one of those things where I'm just like, I knew coming out of it that, there were certain friends who were gonna go separate ways. I knew that the way that I was living wasn't really, wasn't sustainable, and I would come at some certain activities like it was gonna save me, like it was a lifeline. I started going to an organization called Dharma Punks, which is like a kind of cool rock and roll meditation Buddhist organization. But I went to like one meeting and I was depressed when I got there. So naturally I didn't talk to anybody. And, I maybe asked a question or two and I kind of enjoyed the meditation, but even the meditation, because I had so much trauma, even the meditation kind of took me into my own internal space and was just like, yeah, meditate. Oh, yep, we're sad. We're definitely sad. Wow, we are super depressed. And I never went back after like once or twice. And after I would start to sort of just feel a little better, kind of come up on the upswing, or at least my body would level out, I'd honestly just be back on my old bullshit again. I would go back to the same things I was doing before, essentially the same old patterns and habits, because I didn't understand that my life actually needed an overhaul. And when I finally understood that my life needed an overhaul, I left New York. I was involved in so many patterns of behavior, or at least social circles, like the places in New York that I felt entrenched in felt really negative to me, as in they were having negative effects on me and my body. They just weren't suited for me. I was discerning away from them. And I knew that New York really didn't hold anything for me anymore. So I moved to Los Angeles because I just had this sense that LA was a happier place for me to be. And as soon as I got to LA, I was like, okay, Well, I know that I need some social circles. As soon as I get here, I want to start being able to make friends. I need community. I need places where I can belong. So I started going around to different places, and I really tackled it like, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. And there were a couple places that, I went to a couple times and I was like, that was okay. But there were eventually places that I felt like, oh wow, I feel great about this. I feel inspired to be here. I feel good. Like I feel called to be here. Like I'm excited about this. One of those places was the Green Man in North Hollywood that I often talk a lot about. And I haven't been back there in a while because at this point now I don't really feel like I need it anymore. I feel like I've put down enough roots in LA that and I've gotten so much out of the classes there that now it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's great. It's there when I need it. But when I first moved to LA, I felt like, wow, this is really cool. These classes are inspiring. I was learning about traditional British witchcraft. The people there were interesting and cool and friendly. And I just felt like, wow, yeah, I'm really called here. I'm really inspired here. And I made sure to develop my friendships with people I sort of already knew out here. I made new friends through that. I went out to some of the parties that I knew people were going to, the parties where it was kind of popular to go. And those led me to the places that really started feeling like home. And what I realized when I started doing some of this work to really work on my own internal state is I started keeping track of how I would feel after certain things. And I realized, it's like, wow, when I go to a class at the Green Man, I feel remarkably peaceful and energized afterwards. I feel good. And it took me a while to sort of notice that pattern. It wasn't immediate at first. Maybe nowadays it might be because now I'm more in tune with my emotional self-mastery and I understand more quickly how things make me feel because I know how to pay attention to it. But at the time, it kind of snuck up on me because I really didn't think almost that things like community would have that deep of an effect on me when my core wound was like so geared toward romantic partnership. If you had asked me, like, logically speaking, what I thought was the thing that made me most happy, I would have said like going out on dates or like being with the person I have a crush on or whatever. And and at the time my relationships ended up actually in practice making me not happy at all. But when I really looked at like where in my life am I happy, it was going to classes and and meditation circles and all these cool things that I was doing. But my point is, it doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen just as soon as you start doing it. So to expect that that's gonna just be immediate and then to get frustrated, it's normal. But I'm gonna let you know why that frustration is a positive thing. And again, this is something I experienced just last month. And that's me we're talking about, right? I had set some intentions toward the end of 2018 and was sort of waiting for things to manifest. And there were things that just were not picking up steam as quickly as I wanted them to. I was just like, what's going on? This is ridiculous. Like, doesn't everyone know who I am? Like, like, why am I not getting the thing that I'm wanting and that I'm intending for, and that I am striving so hard to be an energetic vibrational match to? What is going on? Where do I even look for this? And I had these feelings of contempt and anger come up in me. And I kind of like, I did the responsible thing, which was I checked in with my coach. And my coach was like, yep, this is normal. The collective is going through that right now. It's showing up in service, but yeah, it's really normal. It's really gnarly. Like, it's really like, it's not fun. So ride it out. You're doing okay. But yeah, this is happening right now. I was like, okay, so the first thing is I already know that what's going on is pretty normal and it's probably of service to me in some way or another. What am I going to do? What am I going to take responsibility for? Where am I going to empower myself to create the life that I want better? And so I'm looking at it, and the first thing that came up is I was like, maybe it's already happening and I'm just being impatient. And maybe part of the reason that there is resistance to it that's coming up in me is because I'm expecting the universe to deliver what I want on my schedule. I'm attached to when something is showing up. Wow, light bulb, right? So I was like, oh, maybe actually I just have to have a little more trust and a little more faith. and that being in this kind of negative energy of anger and contempt and resistance is actually delaying it from showing up in my life. So let me process that first off. And then I was like, all right, where do I find the things that I'm looking for? Well, the first thing that I could do is I can start to scour my social circles for the edges of where those things might exist. I might push out into the edges by saying, if this is the kind of energy that I want, both personally and professionally, and where do I already have sort of an inkling of that in my existing circles already? And how can I spend more time with those people so that those edges get pushed out even further? So I get to meet some of their friends. So I get to, to forge my way into new spaces where I'm going to find people and places and situations and events that are a vibrational match to the thing I'm looking for. So I took my power back. I empowered myself and I said, okay, I don't know exactly where this is going to work yet, but I was like, I'm going to focus on where I see those sort of seedlings of possibility in my own life that I have created so far. And so, I kind of got myself up off of the couch that weekend. I was like, I feel kind of depressed, but I've got a friend who's super cool and really nice to me, and really, quite successful, and is really doing cool stuff for himself. And he's invited me to go out to this thing that he's DJing. So you know what? I'm just gonna go. And I went, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, that event didn't change my life. I didn't immediately meet someone who just made it all better, right? Because it doesn't happen right away. But I was like, okay, I feel better because I got to hang out with my friend a little bit. I got to see some cool stuff. I got to walk around and have kind of a nice time. And I left my house and I dressed up and I reminded myself who the fuck I am, and I had a nice time, and I was like, okay, I didn't solve all my problems, but now I know I'm moving in the right direction. And I swear to God, you guys, less than a month later, just a huge chunk just broke through, as if I was in a room with no walls, and I just pressed on something and it was just like ka-chunk, and the wall just all of a sudden this hidden door opened and there was this whole new community of people, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is the kind of thing that I've been looking to call in for myself. And I had an idea that was going to come in anyway, and I was just being impatient a month ago that it hadn't shown up yet. Which, there's a sort of irony about getting to a point where you can see what's going on energetically well enough to know that something is probably going to show up for you. But then you get impatient because you're like, I can see the future. Why isn't it here yet? Right? So I kind of laughed at myself a little bit, and I'm like, all right, well, that's what's going on. And in conclusion, I just want to say that if you find yourself getting frustrated because things aren't happening immediately, just know that there is lag time between changing your internal state and seeing changes in your external reality. And for me, I made such a drastic change that I moved all the way out of New York into Los Angeles when I really wanted to see something that was a fresh start. And I made the intention when I came to LA of right away, all right, I know I've got to find my communities. I know I got to find my social circles, because if I don't, I just know that that's not going to be healthy. So let me do that because I know it's the right thing to do. Even if I don't necessarily feel personally inspired by going out and finding new people to meet, and because that's always kind of weird and awkward. You're always like, hi, I'm the new kid, right? But I was like, but I know it's the right thing to do. And it ultimately paid off. And there's plenty of places that I went that I was like, okay, this is great, but it's not for me. There were plenty of places that I tried that weren't super amazing. But eventually, I came to find my communities. I came to find my friendships. You guys know that I went through a whole huge healing process, and I lost a lot of friends. But as I was losing friends, I was gaining friends too, because of course I was changing my own energy, and of course that's going to attract different kinds of people. So there you have it. So don't give up if you feel that frustration. And I'm even going to go so far as to say that if you're feeling that frustration, it's probably a clue that you're about to level up. So now I hear my clients come in and tell me that, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated right now, Arden. I can't believe, I'm doing all this work, and I'm just not finding this stuff. And I'm like, oh, good. So you're about to find it in a month, Stuff is about to come through for you, but you've got to keep at it. You've got to not fall prey to the idea that just because you've been taking the first couple steps that you're going to see immediate results, because this really is about, you know, this is deep foundational work, you guys. This does not happen in you know, one meditation class, in one weekend event. This is about changing your entire lifestyle. And I know that sounds daunting, but it's great. It's really, really good. So stick with it. Stick with it, and you will find those results. Just know that it's happening for you. Know that if you're feeling that frustration, that's something that's coming up for a lot of people right now. So just check in with yourself, stay present with yourself, and it's a good sign. Just know it's a good sign that you're moving forward. Thank you guys for listening and paying attention. I would love to see you come check us out in the Repatterning Parlor. Go ahead and check out that link. And as always, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time.